Here's a quick test. Algarve, Alfama, Almofata, Alcantara, Algarismo. Every one of those is a real everyday Portuguese word, a region, a neighborhood, a pillow, a bridge, a number. And every one of them is Arabic. That al at the front isn't a coincidence. Al is the Arabic word for the. It got fused onto the front of these words 1,000 years ago and never came off. Every al word in Portuguese is carrying a little piece of Arabic grammar, frozen in place ever since. Portugal is a Catholic country. Portuguese descends from Latin, cousin to Spanish, French, and Italian. So why are hundreds of words still carrying Arabic? Because for centuries, this corner of Europe wasn't Christian. It was Muslim, and the language they spoke left fingerprints on everything: the food, the home, the map, even the word for hope. This is the story of the Arabic hiding inside Portuguese. Welcome to the Airlearn Language Show. What I love about this story is how invisible it is. A Portuguese speaker can go through an entire day, wake up, eat, shop, talk about the weather using Arabic words constantly and never know it. The history is buried so deep in the language that it's become completely ordinary. And that's really the whole reason languages are worth learning. Every word carries a history. Learn Portuguese and you stumble straight into Arabic. Learn Arabic and you've got a head start on 1,000 Portuguese words you didn't know you knew. That's the kind of hidden connection Airlearn is built to surface. So learning a language feels less like memorizing and more like uncovering something. If there's one you've been meaning to start, the link is in the description. Now, how did Arabic get into Portuguese in the first place? In the year 711, an army crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from North Africa to the Iberian Peninsula, modern Spain and Portugal. Arabs and Berbers recently united under Islam, and they moved astonishingly fast. Within about 7 years, most of the peninsula was under Muslim control. They called the territory Al-Andalus, and it was not a brief occupation. In some parts of Iberia, Muslim rule lasted nearly 800 years. From 711 all the way to 1492, when the last Muslim kingdom, Granada, finally fell. For the region that became Portugal, the timeline is slightly shorter, but still staggering. The south, the area now called Algarve, was under Muslim rule for more than 5 centuries. Portugal didn't even exist as a country yet. It would only emerge as an independent kingdom in 1139, fighting its way south through land that had been Arabic-speaking for 400 years. And here's the thing about Al-Andalus. For much of that period, it was the most advanced civilization in Western Europe. While much of the continent struggled through the early medieval centuries, Al-Andalus had running water, street lighting, vast libraries, hospitals, advanced mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Córdoba was one of the largest and most sophisticated cities in the world. When a civilization that advanced sits on top of a territory for centuries, it doesn't just leave behind buildings, it leaves behind words, thousands of them. Start with the place a Portuguese person spends the most time, the home. The pillow you sleep on is an almofada, from the Arabic almohada. The tailor who makes your clothes is an alfaiate, from alcayat. The mortar in the kitchen for grounding spices is an almofares. And then there are the tiles. If you've ever seen a photograph of Portugal, you've seen azulejos, the painted ceramic tiles that cover walls, churches, palaces, and entire train stations across the country. One of the most recognizable symbols of Portuguese culture. The decorative tradition itself traces back to the Muslim period. Geometric, intricate, built to cover whole surfaces in color and pattern. One of the most iconic things about Portugal, the thing on postcards, has an Arabic name and Moorish roots, and these are not rare formal words. Almofada is the word a child uses for the pillow on their bed. The Arabic isn't sitting in some dusty corner of the dictionary. It's in the most ordinary, domestic, everyday corners of the language. Now, go to the kitchen. The Muslims who ruled Al-Andalus didn't just bring a language, they brought an agricultural revolution. New crops, new irrigations, new ways of farming that transformed what the peninsula could grow. And the words came with the plants. Rice, sugar, olive oil, orange, spinach, artichoke, saffron. Walk through a Portuguese kitchen, and a huge share of what is in it is named Arabic. Not the rare exotic ingredients, the everyday staples. Rice and sugar and oil and oranges, the foundation of the entire cuisine. The Portuguese diet at the level of vocabulary is partially an Arabic diet. Every time someone in Lisbon cooks dinner, they're speaking the language of a civilization that's been politically gone for nearly 800 years. Now, go to the market and the mathematics behind it. Al-Andalus was a center of science and commerce, and Portuguese inherited the vocabulary of both. Algebra from the Arabic al-jabr. The word for a digit, algarismo, comes from the name of the Persian mathematician al-Khwarizmi, whose work introduced the number system Europe still uses. Even the word zero traces back through a winding path to the Arabic sifr, meaning empty. That same root gave English the word cipher. Then the machinery of trade, tariffs, the customs house, warehouse, alchemy. This is the part people find most surprising. The vocabulary of medieval Europe, science and commerce, the word for numbers, trade, customs, and calculation is, to a remarkable degree, Arabic. Because during the centuries when that knowledge was being developed and passed on in Iberia, the people developing it and passing it on were Muslim. Now, look at a map of Portugal. The Arabic is written right across it. The entire southern region is called the Algarve, from the Arabic al-Gharb, meaning the West. It was the western edge of the Muslim world, and it still carries the name. The oldest neighborhood in Lisbon, the tangle of narrow streets that survived the Great Earthquake, is the Alfama, from the Alhama, the springs. Remember that test from the start of the video? The all words? This is where it pays off. Anywhere in Portugal you see a place with the name beginning al, you are almost certainly looking at an Arabic word, sitting on the map for 1,000 years, naming a place in a language nobody speaks there anymore. Every time a Portuguese person says where they're from, there's a good chance they're speaking Arabic without knowing it. And then there's the most surprising category of all. You'd expect a Catholic country to keep its religious and emotional language Christian, rooted in Latin, the language of the church. But some of the deepest, most heartfelt words in Portuguese are Arabic. The word ate, until, comes from the Arabic hata. And then there's Oxalá. Oxalá means I hope or God willing. It's the word a Portuguese person reaches for when they want something badly and it's out of their hands. Like this sentence, I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. It comes directly from the Arabic inshallah, if God wills it. The phrase Muslims have used for 1,500 years. So in one of the most Catholic countries in Europe, the word people use to express hope, to quietly appeal to God, is at its root a Muslim prayer. And it goes further. Fatima, the most famous Catholic pilgrimage site in Portugal, where the faithful gather by the hundreds of thousands, is named after a Moorish woman. Fatima is one of the most important names in Islam, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad. Portugal's holiest Catholic shrine carries the Muslim name. The Muslims didn't leave Iberia all at once. After the Christian kingdoms reconquered the land, Portugal completed its push south by 1249. Muslim populations remained for centuries. Farming, building, trading, working. By the time they were finally expelled or forced to convert in the 1600s, the vocabulary was already too deep in the language to pull out. You can expel a people. You cannot expel their words. And so today, Spanish carries around 4,000 Arabic words, and Portuguese around 1,000 of its everyday vocabulary. More when you count the place names and everything built from them. They sit in the food, the home, the market, the map, and the prayers, completely invisible, completely ordinary. Portugal won its war against Al-Andalus. The mosques became churches. The rulers became Christians. the maps were redrawn. But every measure of history, the Muslim world lost the Iberian Peninsula. But listen to the language. A Catholic country, 800 years later, whose word for hope is a Muslim prayer, whose holiest shrine bears the name of the Prophet's daughter, whose kitchens, homes, and maps are still quietly speaking the language of a civilization that supposedly vanished centuries ago. Every Portuguese sentence is, in part, a memory of a world that refused to fully disappear. If this makes you want to dig into Portuguese or Arabic or any language carrying a buried history like this one, that's exactly where Airlearn comes in. Pick a language and you'll find a story underneath it. The hardest part is starting. Links in the description. See you in the next one.